What up, gang? Coach Steve here. Today we're going to talk about our hips, specific internal, external rotation on both sides, and how we can evaluate how that looks with our 90-90 position. Can you sit like this easily without being here? That would be a really good first test, but we'll get to that later. For this is the 90-90. Grab like two props. So it doesn't matter. It could be like books. It doesn't have to be any equipment related thing. You're just going to use it to help stabilize you. In the 90-90, we're looking for how much external, how much internal rotation each side of our hip has. If I want to see what my left external, right internal looks like, I would drop this knee down at the same time that I swing this leg back. Right? Here's why we're going to need these props to start out with. So this just helps me stay straight. Otherwise, you're going to kind of be here until these loosen up and you're not going to get the same benefit of the stretch. All right, here's what we're going to look for. Don't worry about this back leg yet. Just let this float. And in this front leg, think about drawing a line from ankle bone, shin to knee, and then back down this quad. Relative to my torso, that should look pretty close to like a 90-degree. Okay, so that's the first thing. Push that down, push away. Just see what that feels like. Okay, so try to keep that butt cheek down. Try to keep that outside thigh, that outside knee, this whole structure here down, and try to stand tall here. Use this to press you up if you have to. Set on first part of 90-90, looking at the left external, right internal. You can relax this for a second. What we're gonna do now is kick this quad back and try to extend that sucker out so that if you were like in geometry class and there was a perfect rectangle, that rectangle could fit into this groin area. In other words, if I'm here, obviously that rectangle can't get in. That's way too much space, right? So I think about trying to make it so that a perfect, rectangle with all 90-degree edges would fit perfectly into my hip socket. This is where this gets a little tough, and this is why this is helpful. Or, I like the kettlebell because it's taller, this one's heavy, so I can kind of just play with however I need it to get this leg here, get these hips situated, bring that foot out. Right, so this 90-90 is tough for me because I have really poor hip internal rotation on my right. I need a prop, right? If I take that prop away and do this, I'm not doing anything, right? I need something to force me into the correct position because it's too tight. If this external feels relatively easy, that hips relax now, you can think about taking this quad. Pretend there's arrows. The back of the arrow is here and the tip is going this way. So almost like a roller that rolls this way, your arrows are going down. That's what I want you to think about. That's what this quad and hip have to do within the socket. So instead of just like jamming it into the ground, you're just gonna get stuck where you have impingement, right? Think about rotating it. You're not gonna be able to really move it very much because it's a small range of motion, but it's really just like the mind to muscle connection will help you grind through some of that sticky spot versus just kind of like slamming it into the ground. So I think I want it pressed to the ground, but I want more importantly to be able to, what's it feel like to sort of rotate that. So here's your base position, right? Use this to play in and out of that position. This can stand you a little bit taller. Really fires up that fucker, right? So ease into it at first and then use that prop to push up a little bit higher. We want to be forward facing here. This is going to tell you everything you need to know about left external, right internal. Let's see what happens when we flip this. So I got my prop here. This is the former right internal, which was really tough for me. Now we're going right external, left internal. If we remember, left external was real easy, so what about left internal? Nothing, right? So I know my left hip generally has really good internal external rotation. Let's see what this right, which had bad internal, Let's see what this looks like from an external perspective. Right, so like I'd use these props for, you know, a minute or so as I get really the obliques and some of these erectors of what's really tight. My hips don't feel anything. This feels pretty easy. I could sit here all day and I won't get a whole lot more benefit through internal and external. I will through this oblique stretch. You can sort of start to just press down here, press down here, pull that torso up using this side, counter leverage. So the point here is to just gradually release your need to use this anchor through breathing, because if you don't breathe right and just go, your muscles stay tense and you'll never get into a deeper position. So I'll stop talking for a second. Let's see if I can sink down in there. So it takes some time for sure, but if you breathe long enough, deep enough, and just really let that nervous system relax. Obviously the inclination is going to be tense up when we press against something that's tight. That makes sense, right? It's uncomfortable, but that's not really what we want to do. We want to find where that end range is, right? And just sort of recognize that limitation. And from there, we're just very systematically pushing those ranges just in a very gradual progression as we breathe through that, to the extent that that additional range starts to feel pretty normal, right? There's no point to do that and hold my breath and force that position. My body just got really tense, and if anything, it made it worse, right? So very gradual, very thoughtful progressions in these stretch movements. That's what's going to give you the best bang for your buck for sure. So how long should I sit in that position? As long as it takes for you to relax and open up your hips. For folks that are pretty flexy, that might be 60 seconds. For people that sit at a desk all day and then drive and commute, you're going to be down here for a long time. Do not let that discourage you. Sometimes working through really tough mobility just requires a lot of time under tension. You see a lot of stuff on Instagram that sells a 60-second stretch to fix stuff. Guess what? That's not true at all. None of that's true. It's all bullshit to sell you stuff. This stuff takes time, and that's why nobody likes to do it. And that's why nobody sells it that way, because it's not sexy, but this is the way to do it. So let's get after it, gang.